Silence with growth is not weakness. It's not fear. It's not you backing down. It's you understanding the value of your energy and choosing not to waste it on situations that don't deserve your response. See, everybody wants a reaction. When someone hurts you, disrespects you, doubts you, or tries to play you small, what they really want is proof that they still got control over you. Your anger feeds them. Your explanations entertain them. Your arguments validate them. Silence, though, silence confuses them. Silence forces them to sit alone with what they did. Growth is loud, but it don't always make noise right away. Sometimes growth looks like you walking away without saying a word. Sometimes it looks like you grinding in the dark while people think you fell off. Sometimes it looks like restraint, like patience, like you choosing the long road when the shortcut would have felt good for a moment. Anybody can react. Anybody can snap. Anybody can talk. But it takes discipline to stay quiet and keep building when your pride wants to speak. When you respond with silence, you're not ignoring the pain. You're processing it. You're learning from it. You're asking yourself real questions. Why did this bother me? What lesson is in this? What part of me needs to evolve so this don't happen again? That's growth. That's self-awareness. That's power. Because the goal is not to win arguments. The goal is to win your life. A lot of people talk too much and build too little. They explain themselves to people who already made up their minds. They try to prove their worth to people who benefit from doubting them. That's backwards. Your work should speak for you. Your consistency should explain you. Your results should introduce you. When you focus on growth, you don't need to announce it. You don't need applause while you're in the process. You let time do the talking. Silence also protects your vision. Everybody doesn't need access to your plans, your emotions, your next move. Some people smile with you, but don't clap when you win. Some people ask questions just to gather information, not to support you. When you're quiet, you can see people clearly. You notice who respects your space and who only shows up when they need something. Silence sharpens your awareness. And let's be real, growth hurts. Growth requires sacrifice. It requires you to sit with discomfort instead of distracting yourself with drama. It requires you to accept that not everyone is coming with you. When people hurt you, sometimes it's life telling you it's time to upgrade your circle, your mindset, your standards. Not everybody you start with is meant to finish with you. That's not hate, that's evolution. Silence with growth is you waking up early when nobody's watching. It's you staying consistent when motivation fades. It's you choosing discipline over emotion. It's you mastering yourself instead of trying to control others. The strongest people aren't the ones who respond the fastest. They're the ones who think the longest. They understand that every reaction has a cost, and they don't spend their energy on things that don't give a return. One day, the same people who tried to test you will look up and realize you're not even in the same lane anymore. Not because you argued, not because you explained, but because while they were talking, you were working. While they were watching, you were building. While they were focused on the moment, you were focused on the mission. That's the beauty of silence paired with growth. It doesn't rush, it doesn't flex, it doesn't beg for validation. It just compounds, day by day, brick by brick, until your life becomes a response they never expected. And when that happens, you won't need to say a word. Discipline over reaction is a choice you make every single day, especially when life tries you, especially when somebody crosses a line, disrespects your name, or underestimates your intentions. The instinct is to respond immediately, to let emotion take the wheel, to say something sharp, to prove a point in the moment. But discipline is about understanding that every reaction has a price, and not every price is worth paying. Most people live off impulse and let their mood dictate their moves. Somebody says something slick, they snap back. Somebody doubts them, they crash out. That's how people lose focus, lose opportunities, lose momentum. Reaction feels good for a second, but discipline pays long term. And if you're building something bigger than your ego, you can't afford to let temporary emotions sabotage permanent goals. Discipline is restraint. It's the ability to pause when everything in you wants to explode. It's knowing that just because you can respond doesn't mean you should. Some battles don't deserve your energy. Some conversations don't deserve your voice. When you react emotionally, you give control away. When you stay disciplined, you stay in charge. The world will test you constantly. People will provoke you intentionally or poke at your insecurities. They'll question your worth, not because you're weak, but because you're doing something right. Growth attracts resistance. success attracts envy. Discipline is what keeps you from stepping off your path to entertain distractions disguised as disrespect. A disciplined mind understands timing. It knows that the loudest response isn't always immediate. Sometimes the best response is delayed. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's success. When you don't react, you create space to think clearly. You see the situation for what it is, not what it feels like in the heat of the moment. That clarity is dangerous in a good way. Reaction is emotional. Discipline is strategic. Reaction is about ego. Discipline is about purpose. When you react, you're trying to win the moment. When you stay disciplined, you're trying to win the long game. And the long game is where real freedom lives. Discipline also means mastering yourself before trying to check others. You can't control what people say or do, but you can control how you move. That's real power. Anybody can talk tough. Anybody can lose their temper, but it takes strength to stay composed when you're provoked. It takes maturity to let disrespect pass when you know your direction is bigger than the moment. There's a quiet confidence that comes with discipline. You don't feel the need to explain yourself. You don't feel the urge to prove anything. You understand that people who really matter will see your consistency, and people who don't never mattered in the first place. Discipline allows you to stay focused on your routine, your craft, your grind, regardless of the noise around you. A lot of people ruin their own progress by reacting to things that don't align with their future. They let a comment throw off their day. They let a situation pull them off their schedule. They let temporary drama slow down permanent progress. Discipline keeps you moving forward even when emotions are heavy, especially when emotions are heavy. The truth is, discipline is built in uncomfortable moments. It's built when you want to speak, but choose silence. When you want to react, but choose restraint. When you want to defend yourself, but choose to let your work do it for you. Every time you choose discipline, you reinforce your self-respect. You prove to yourself that you're in control. Over time, people notice, not because you argued less, but because you stayed consistent, because you didn't let distractions derail your vision. Eventually, your results speak so loud that nobody questions your discipline anymore. And when you look back, you'll realize the moments you didn't react were the moments that saved you. Saved your focus, saved your future, saved your peace. Discipline didn't make noise, but it built everything. Boundaries without hate is grown man energy. It's understanding that you don't need anger to create distance, and you don't need resentment to protect your peace. A lot of people think setting boundaries means you're cold, bitter, or holding a grudge. That's not it. Boundaries are about clarity. They're about knowing what you allow around you and what you don't, without letting negativity live rent-free in your mind. See, hate keeps you tied to people. It keeps you emotionally invested. If you're still mad, you're still connected, and connection to the wrong energy is expensive. Boundaries are the opposite of hate. They're freedom. They allow you to move forward without carrying unnecessary weight. You're not cutting people off to punish them. You're creating space so you can breathe, think, and build without interference. Not everybody who hurts you is evil. Some people are just misaligned. Different values, different priorities, different levels of discipline. And instead of trying to force understanding, you respect the difference and step back. That's maturity. You don't need to convince anyone to treat you better. You just remove yourself from environments that don't match your standards. Boundaries are silent decisions. They don't require announcements or explanations. You don't need a speech. You don't need closure conversations that reopen wounds. Sometimes the cleanest move is just adjusting your access. Less availability, less sharing, less emotional investment. You let your actions speak instead of your emotions. When you set boundaries without hate, you stop reacting from pain and start moving from purpose. You don't block people out of anger. You block distractions out of respect for your future. You don't hold grudges, you hold standards. There's a big difference. Grudges keep you stuck in the past. Standards guide you forward. People will test your boundaries, especially the ones who benefited from you having none. They'll guilt trip you. They'll call you distant. They'll say you changed. And they're right, you did. You grew. Growth demands adjustments. You can't elevate and keep the same level of access for everybody. That's not arrogance, that's responsibility. Boundaries also teach people how to treat you. Not through words, but through consistency. When you stop tolerating disrespect, when you stop over-explaining, when you stop showing up where you're not valued, the message is clear. You're not angry. You're intentional. You're not emotional. You're disciplined. There's power in calm distance, no arguments, no back and forth, just a quiet shift in energy. You don't match disrespect with disrespect. You don't lower yourself to prove a point. You keep your character intact while protecting your space. That's how you win without conflict. And here's the part most people don't talk about. Setting boundaries isn't easy, especially when you care, especially when history is involved, especially when emotions are deep. But discipline isn't about what's easy. It's about what's necessary. If someone keeps crossing lines, ignoring your values, or draining your energy, love doesn't mean unlimited access. Sometimes love means distance. Boundaries without hate allow you to heal properly. They give you room to focus on your craft, your health, your mindset. They help you stop reliving old wounds and start creating new chapters. You're not bitter, you're focused. You're not heartless, you're intentional. Eventually you realize that peace feels better than proving a point. Growth feels better than winning arguments. And protecting your energy feels better than explaining yourself to people who never listen anyway. You don't owe everybody proximity. You owe yourself progress. And when you move like that, calm, clear, and disciplined, your life gets lighter, your vision gets sharper, and the noise fades on its own. Pain is guaranteed. Everybody gets a share. Nobody moves through life untouched. The difference between people who stay stuck and people who rise is not how much pain they felt. It's what they decided to do with it. Some people let pain harden them. Some let it break them. Others learn how to convert it. They take that same weight and turn it into momentum. When you get hurt, the first instinct is to ask, why? Why me? Why now? Why them? But purpose doesn't come from asking why. It comes from asking, what's next? What am I supposed to build from this? What is this teaching me about myself? What part of me needs to level up so this pain doesn't go to waste? Because wasted pain is the real loss. Pain carries energy, real energy. It can push you into bad decisions or it can push you into discipline. That choice is where purpose is born. Instead of numbing the hurt, you sit with it, you study it, you let it sharpen you. You let it remind you how serious you are about becoming something more than your circumstances. A lot of people escape their pain through distractions, temporary pleasures, noise, validation, but purpose requires presence. You have to be willing to feel the discomfort long enough to understand it. That's how you turn pain into wisdom. That's how you stop repeating cycles. That's how you stop bleeding on people who never cut you. When pain hits, it exposes your priorities. It shows you what really matters. It shows you where you've been moving without intention. And if you're paying attention, it also shows you the direction forward. Purpose usually lives right on the other side of your biggest setback, right where you almost quit, right where you thought it was over. Transmuting pain into purpose means refusing to let your story end at the injury. It means you don't identify as the victim, you identify as the builder. You don't let your worst moment define you. You let it refine you. Every scar becomes proof of survival, not a reminder of weakness. Purpose gives pain a job. Instead of carrying it around emotionally, you put it to work. You channel it into your craft, your mission, your routine, your vision. You let it fuel your consistency when motivation disappears. You let it keep you disciplined when distractions show up. You let it remind you why quitting is not an option. There's a quiet fire that comes from this, not anger, not revenge, just determination. You move different, you think deeper, you stop chasing approval and start chasing alignment. You understand that the people who hurt you were never the point, the lesson was. And once you find purpose in your pain, you stop resenting the past. You don't romanticize it, but you respect it. Because without that struggle, you wouldn't have this clarity. Without that loss, you wouldn't have this hunger. Without that setback, you wouldn't have this direction. Purpose also makes you patient. You realize success is not a sprint fueled by emotion. It's a marathon powered by discipline. Pain teaches endurance. It teaches you how to keep moving when conditions aren't perfect, when nobody's clapping, when progress feels slow. That's when purpose holds you steady. Eventually, your pain becomes part of your message. Not in a loud way, not for sympathy, but in how you move, how you lead, how you show up. People feel it in your presence. They see the depth in your work. They recognize the authenticity in your grind, because purpose built from pain is always real. You don't rush the process. You respect it. You trust that nothing you went through was random. It all shaped your perspective. It all strengthened your foundation. And one day you realized the pain that once felt unbearable became the reason you're standing where you are now. That's transmutation, turning pressure into progress, turning wounds into wisdom, turning pain into purpose, and walking forward with intention instead of resentment. Long-term vision is about seeing past the moment you're standing in. It's understanding that today is just one frame in a much bigger picture. Most people live reaction to reaction, emotion to emotion, situation to situation. They make decisions based on how they feel right now instead of where they're trying to go. A long-term mindset forces you to slow down, zoom out, and ask yourself if this move aligns with the future you're building. When you think long-term, you stop chasing quick wins, you stop needing immediate validation, you start making moves just to feel important in the moment. You start making decisions that might not pay off today, tomorrow, or even next month, but you know they'll compound over time. That's patience, that's maturity, that's strategy. Long-term vision teaches you restraint. It teaches you how to say no to things that feel good, but don't serve your direction. Not every opportunity is worth taking. Not every argument is worth engaging. Not every relationship is worth maintaining. When you know where you're headed, distractions become obvious. You don't need to fight them. You just don't follow them. People with long-term vision don't rush the process. They respect it. They understand that anything built fast can fall faster. So they focus on foundations, habits, routines, discipline. They show up even when progress feels invisible. They keep working even when nobody's watching. They trust the work because they understand compounding doesn't make noise at first. A long-term mindset also keeps you calm in chaos. When setbacks happen, and they will, you don't panic. You don't self-destruct. You don't question your worth every time something goes wrong. You see obstacles as part of the blueprint. Temporary delays, not permanent endings. You stay grounded because you know one bad chapter doesn't cancel the whole story. This mindset separates emotion from execution. You can feel disappointed without quitting. You can feel frustrated without reacting. You can feel tired without stopping. Long-term vision gives you emotional control because you're anchored to something bigger than the moment. Your focus isn't on how hard it is, it's on why you started. When you think long-term, you stop competing with people and start competing with your former self. You're not worried about who's ahead today. You're worried about consistency. You're worried about growth. You're worried about alignment. You know that real success isn't about speed, it's about sustainability. Long-term thinkers also understand sacrifice. They're willing to be misunderstood, willing to move quietly, willing to delay gratification. They know that comfort now can cost freedom later. So they choose discipline over convenience, structure over chaos, vision over impulse, and over time, those choices stack up. There's a loneliness that comes with long-term vision. Not everybody will understand your pace. Not everybody will support your discipline. Some people will think you're doing too much. Others will think you're doing too little. But when you're clear on your direction, outside opinions lose their power. You don't need approval, you need alignment. Eventually the results catch up, slowly at first, then all at once. And when they do, people call it luck. They don't see the years of restraint, the nights you stayed focused, the times you didn't react, the opportunities you passed on because they didn't fit the plan. That's the invisible work long-term vision demands. This mindset isn't flashy, it's not loud, it doesn't seek attention. It just stays consistent day after day, brick by brick. And one day, you look up and realize you're standing somewhere you once only imagined. That's the power of long-term vision. It keeps you disciplined when emotions try to distract you. It keeps you steady when circumstances try to shake you. And it keeps you moving forward even when the finish line feels far away because you understand the journey is the real investment.